Hello, brothers and sisters. Welcome to He Sees Us All YouTube channel. And today I wanted to talk to you guys about the not-so-hypothetical Planet 9. But first, let me say real quick that I hope everybody's doing really well, and I'm really sorry that I haven't gotten this video up earlier in the week. I've just been so busy. I've got a lot going on. I had a lot of doctor's appointments. I've got stuff going on with my back on top of my neuropathy, and they did these injection things and they burnt off. I don't know. Anyway, I don't want to get into it. So, but before all that happened, I was able to finally plant my strawberries. It took me all day because I could only do a little bit at a time. And I have this like really nice trellis that my husband found in the garbage somewhere. I showed it on my live. I'm hoping that my raspberries will end up vining all around it. I'm definitely going to show you guys once I have everything all set and growing nice, and you know, I'm proud of the little things that I'm able to do. So, and some bigger news, I got a new computer last week. It's a used computer, but it's one from a really trusted friend, so I'm not worried about it being used or anything like that. And I've known her since elementary school, and if you're listening, Shalia, thank you so much. You are helping this channel more than you even realize. And I hope that you guys all notice a difference in my videos as well. Once I really get the hang of this, I plan on doing live streams with you guys at least once a week, and then I'll have my regular movie-style videos coming out once a week as well. And if you guys, like this one where I just kind of voice over with a bunch of imagery, and if you guys didn't mind the garden chat video, the first one I did, I can throw in random ones like that as well. I can walk down to a nice spot by the river and we could chat. It could be topic-based, or I could tell you guys some of my experiences in life when I knew that God was directly influencing like my life and things around me. I don't know. It's up to you guys on what you'd like the random videos to be about. Throw me some ideas. Tell me what you guys would like my, I guess you could call them story time videos to be about. Let me know in the comment box down below in this video, or you can email me at heseesusall@gmail.com. I want to be taking this channel down the same road that I always have been, but I finally have some new tools and some new ideas, and I'd like to implement them into my videos. Like I've said many times before, I'm not as tech savvy as one might think, so just bear with me, guys. I actually have a friend coming over that's going to show me some things on the computer, because I really don't know anything about it. I go back to like Windows 98. That's as far as I know. So, anyway, I think that 2 videos a week and maybe some random ones thrown in as well would be good. And not only for the channel, but for me as well. Because it's really hard to get people to wake up from this slumber that they've been in all of their lives. And sadly, it just tears families apart. Jesus said when he is to come that he would bring a sword and not peace. And I see this daily as families are torn apart at the topic of truth. And you see, I use that word truth because I refuse to use the word conspiracy, because that is a word that they've given to anyone who looks into the repetitively spewed narrative that we are constantly being given. And this word is going to define mental illness. They've already made those plans pretty clear. So, it's always pretty refreshing when you make a new video and some like-minded individuals either strike up conversation in the comment section or send you a personal email. I am telling you guys, it is literally a breath of fresh air every single time. And I mean that too. I love you guys so much, and thank you all for being here with me. And thank you for joining me on this crazy journey that we're on. May God bless each and every one of you, and may he keep you and all your family safe in these very, very questionable days that lie ahead of us all. Okay, now to the matter at hand. I'm sorry, I don't know why I go off on these rambles sometimes. Last Friday night was a really nice and clear night. It wasn't too cold and the moon hadn't risen yet, so the sky was very, very dark. In the little patch of sky we have to look at, there's trees all around us. And here's a few photos that I took earlier just to show you guys how much sky we can see in front of our house. It was cloudy when I took these, but I wanted to demonstrate how it's really not a whole lot of sky that we have available to us. Well, the little patch of sky that we have to look at, the stars were very, very bright, and especially the one that was directly in front of our house. At first I thought it was Mars, but then I was like, nah, that seems way too big to be Mars. But it was really, really red, so I was like, let me just check. Because I have this star planet identifier app on my phone. This is actually the best picture I have of what I saw for you guys. I have quite a few of them, and I'll show all of my pictures throughout the video. I'll show some zoomed in. But let me just say, not one of these pictures accurately represents how big or how red this thing was. It doesn't even look red in these pictures. So there were other stars all around too, right? And the funny thing is, I could not get my camera to pick up any of the other stars in the sky. I mean, like, not at all. Not even a little fleck of light would show on my screen, except for this one. This thing was way bigger than any other star in the sky, but I was surprised that I couldn't even get a fleck of light to show. So I break out my star map app or planet identifier, whatever you want to call it, and I see that this big red star in front of me is identified as Planet 9, right? Planet 9. At first I thought, like Pluto? And then, I see right by the Taurus constellation is Mars. And Mars is identified as Mars. And Pluto, not only being extremely small, was deplatformed, I guess you could say. So I then realized that Planet 9 must be what we used to call Planet 10, or Planet X, Nibiru, and some would even call this thing Wormwood. So, now where Mars was in the sky, from my point of view, I couldn't actually see it yet. It was behind all the trees that are right in front of my house. And if you look here, Planet 9 is right by the constellation Orion, which is, pretty easily identifiable by anybody who's been looking in the sky all their life. So I am absolutely sure that what I was looking at was Planet 9, or at least what they're going to tell us is Planet 9. It was definitely what they were identifying as Planet 9. So I know that that's what I was looking at. Orion is actually the only constellation that I have a good view of with a little itty-bitty patch of sky, a little itty-bitty patch of sky that's visible above me. And what else I found that was particularly interesting is that this so-called Planet 9 is located right in that same area of sky as Orion's belt. So many of the ancient sites all around the world, the ones that were built to last anyway, are lined right up with Orion's belt. We are literally talking all around the world too. Civilizations that supposedly could not and were not communicating with each other built all of their towns and great massive buildings to line up and point towards these three stars? Why? Well, what would make the most logical sense is that we were just as advanced, I tend to think we were more so even, in the past, and that these sites that were built to last throughout the centuries were built just for that. To last. They were most likely built to remind us of something catastrophic that came and is to come again and again. Something so much bigger than what mankind is capable of stopping. I don't believe it was just sheer coincidence that all these different societies in the past built these massive buildings to point towards Orion's belt just because. If something so big, and I mean like extinction level event big, was separated by thousands and thousands of years, mankind would have to come up with as permanent of a warning for the future generations as they possibly could. Because something separated by that many generations would be very easily forgotten, or just end up being an urban legend of some kind, or even being a tale of the ancient Hopi Indian tribe. So, they had to do something massive, something that would prove to stand the test of time. And what did they come up with? Well, they built the pyramids of Giza. They even have smaller pyramids nearby that are in the same alignment, the pyramids of Teotihuacan, as well as many other well-known tourist attractions and landmarks throughout the world. The Native American Hopi Indian tribe have many monuments right along with tribal tales that contain profound connections to Orion as well. And then we have the Mayan sites in Mexico too. You can literally find these ancient sites all over the world that were built to last, from China to Africa, Europe to North America, and now it seems like Antarctica is even revealing a connection of its own. There had to be a really good reason to build not just one huge, massive landmark that aligns up with Orion, but multiple, just to make sure that the message will make it throughout the centuries. If something happens to one place, well, you've built 100 more all over the world, so mankind or the future generations or societies will definitely get the hint, right? Well, we should have, and we should be, but the governments all over the world have done everything in their power to cover up that very dire message that was left for everyone, not just the elite. They decided to cover up that message so that they could dilute it and make it their very own, especially the Egyptian government, but I could seriously make that subject a video all on its own. I mean, they didn't build the pyramids or the Sphinx, but again, that's a whole nother ballpark. These governments, all of them, have built these bunkers underground everywhere. They're literally everywhere, and they're most certainly not for us. Why do you think that is? But the thing is, we all have our own two eyes, our own brains, and the lovely God-given gift of discernment that we should all be using daily. And this is a message I think that we're all going to have to read on our own. And it's not just any message, it's most certainly a warning of sorts. Probably to not make the same mistake we made last time, and my guess is we are making that very same mistake yet again, probably even worse this time, as there are no plans to help the peasants or the poor when this catastrophe finally happens. And believe me, most people who are considered middle class or even upper middle class, you're a peasant to them as well. The psychopaths that run this world see it as a great opportunity for population control, and we all know they never pass up a good opportunity. Their plan is just to keep everyone good and distracted, maybe even say this coming race of beings are just your friendly aliens, right? The tales of the Nephilim and the Sumerian tales of the Anunnaki are anything but friendly. We were slaves to these beings. And these beings? Well, they're anything but aliens. These coming entities or beings are interdimensional, have been here before, and God himself was the one to place the veil that separated us from them. And it will be God himself to put a stop to what's coming this time as well. The elite have been trying to tear this veil for quite some time now, and I believe that the predicted date, that was December 21st, 2012, was the date that the elite may have been shooting for. But only God himself shall know the exact day and time. Not one man on this earth shall know the exact day, not even the angels in heaven. So obviously not the fallen either. Just God. So when I saw this very bright star, I took as many pictures of it as I possibly could. It was really hard to get a good picture, and my camera was on a tripod as well, so it wasn't really moving. I feel like, I know the thing was changing shape. Like, sometimes when I would snap the picture, it wouldn't even be there. Like, it would completely disappear. It's because it was, like, glimmering and altering, and you'll see as I go through these pictures how all of them look different, I promise you. These pictures are all of the same thing. And like I was saying, none of these pictures really do any justice to what I was actually seeing anyway. But what I did notice was with, like I was saying, every single picture that, you know, this thing was changing its form. And my thing is, now, if something were to be trying to break into this little third dimension that we call home from a dimension higher than ours, we would only be able to see a little part of it at any given time. And that part that we would be able to see or view from here could be ever shifting or ever changing. And to put it in layman's terms, a fourth dimensional object in our third dimensional world here just wouldn't fit, to say the least. We would be able to see parts or sections of the object or entity at any given time. And that's it. We would not be able to see this thing as a whole because we do not exist within the fourth dimension. We do not see in fourth dimensional terms, or we can't see fourth dimensional space. I've often thought that because of this, that these entities could take any form that they please when they present themselves to us. Like if they wanted to take the form of a gray alien from another planet, for instance. They could do so easily. An easy way to understand this is by thinking of viewing a third dimensional object in a two-dimensional world. Now, what I'm going to explain to you isn't real. It isn't fact. This is like theoretical. It's not even theoretical. This is just a way to like visualize this. I have a really hard time putting my thoughts into words sometimes. Sometimes I feel like my vocabulary isn't broad enough for the things that go on in my head. Entities, if any were there that would exist in the second dimension, would only be able to see us as a single vertical or horizontal line. Maybe multiple lines, but lines nonetheless. They would not see us as we exist. And it could be possible that we could control what lines were being made visible to them in their dimension, creating the appearance of something entirely different than what we truly are. I mean, you could kind of look at it like our drawings are second dimensional, and they do only see the lines that we choose to draw them. But that's not really a true statement, as our drawings don't actually exist. But I thought it was a good way to visualize what I'm trying to say. So a fourth dimensional being could choose to show us certain sections or parts of itself, given the appearance of something entirely different than what it really is. And this makes me wonder sometimes about the stars. I wonder, are they fourth dimensional objects, and that's why they glimmer and change form as they do? Because the pictures I have here, like this thing was ever changing. But if you've ever watched any star and took pictures of any star, they all kind of do that. Anyway, I went off on one of my wild rambles again. My apologies. I think of some of the strangest things. Again, I don't think my vocabulary fits some of my thoughts. And what I'm saying, again, is obviously all theoretical. I just figured I'd share it with you guys. I wanted to let you guys know some of my thoughts on what I think is really going on. And I think the appearance of so-called Planet 9, and they will probably be admitting its existence any day now. But I think the appearance of this so-called Planet 9 or Nibiru or whatever you want to call it is the beginning of this veil tearing. It's like that appearance, that glimmer of light is the pinhole in the veil that we're looking at. They've probably been successful with some CERN experiments allowing this thing to come through. One of the predictive programming videos that I want to make for you guys, I actually started working on it a while back and I put it to the side, but it's about this movie called Alien Code, and I swear they are trying to tell us exactly this. Hollywood has a tendency to silver line their movies with bits and pieces of the truth, and when I saw this movie, it just blew me away. It literally was showing me that, for one, my thoughts about these beings being interdimensional isn't completely crazy. And for two, that we've built machines to help these things make their way in. I just watched a video the other day by Jacob Isreal, and he also thinks that the world governments are going to be admitting to Planet 9, Planet 10, Nibiru, whatever you want to call it, any day now. I don't know if you guys watch his channel or not, but he has some pretty good content, and he's definitely worth checking out. I'll link his channel down below. I don't want to just mention him and not link his channel. I don't speak with him or anything. I just think his channel's pretty good. He's pretty animated, and he has his own unique way of presenting different topics and such. Excuse me. Anywho, I don't know. I hope my rambles made some sense to you guys at least. I was most certainly a little shocked to see that my phone was identifying this thing as Planet 9. But then when I did a quick internet search, this thing hasn't technically been identified yet. I don't think that this app was misidentifying the thing that I was looking at. I think that someone screwed up and maybe added the update a little bit too soon. And the fact that it was identified makes me think that it's seriously only a matter of time before this all goes mainstream news worldwide. That scientists have finally discovered the infamous Nibiru and you can actually see it with the naked eye. The other thing, like I said earlier, I couldn't get my camera to pick up any other star that was in the sky that night. Not one. Why would that be? I thought it was so strange. There are a couple of screenshots of the identifier app from this Wednesday night that I took, and this thing's still right there, gleaming down on us and being identified prematurely by the star map apps. Pretty big slip up if you ask me. And before I wrap this thing up with you guys, I just want to tell you guys about a dream that I had when I was 16. You guys, I'm done talking about the Planet 9 for the most part. I mean, I guess I'm not, because it kind of involves this dream, but this dream's a little bit graphic. Let me just warn you ahead of time. So when I was 16, I had this cataclysmic type of dream. And in this dream, there were meteors or meteorites coming down from the sky. And everything was burnt up around me. The trees, the grass, the buildings. And I saw a person standing next to me. And he screamed out as there was just flames and fire all around. And I watched his flesh literally melt off his skull. And this dream is what led me to open up the Bible myself and start reading. Anyway, I could literally smell burnt hair and flesh in this dream. It was so realistic. I cannot even explain to you how realistic this dream was. Like, I could feel things, I could smell things, I could even, like, taste the air. Also, I was working at Subway back at this time, and I was the store manager, and I had to open that morning. I woke up like 30 minutes before my alarm clock went off. It might have only even been like 20, and went back to sleep. And I swear to you guys, this dream felt like it took hours just to endure. It was like hours worth of time jammed in a little 30 to 20 minute time span. I don't know how else to explain it. And I remember hearing the news in the background throughout the entire dream saying, "Go outside and look at the stars tonight. Look at the stars. It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing." And that line, "It's a beautiful thing," just kept ringing over and over and over again in my head. There was this Chinese restaurant next to Subway, right? And they had these, like, in my dream, I was at Subway at one point too. I'm guessing just to incorporate whatever life I was living at that time. Anyway, in my dream, the Chinese restaurant next to Subway had these, I guess you could say, satellite type of things, but they were up in the air and chained to the ground. They weren't, like, just up in the air. They were actually, like, there was a chain coming down and they were held to the ground. Really strange, and it's not anything that exists today. Again, it was a dream. And I remember just knowing for some reason that they had these things chained to the ground and up in the sky because they were filming this event to try to make a profit off of it. I don't know why I knew that in this dream, but I knew that they were trying to make money off of this event. And this was before YouTube was even like a thing. And when I watched the flesh melt off this man's face, I could hear this loud, terrifying noise. If you've ever listened to this song by Evanescence, Wake Me Up Inside, it's quite popular. I'm sure most of you have heard it. Even people who think they haven't heard it, if you play that song, you're going to be like, "Oh, I've heard that song." Well, in the beginning of that song, there's this noise. And it's like this rumbling roar. I don't know. There's a noise in the beginning of the song, and it sounds almost exactly like what I heard in my dream. It gives me goosebumps, makes all the hair on my arms stand up, and tears me up every time I hear it. I don't know why. It just, every time I hear that noise in that song, it freaks me out physically. So with this noise was an earthquake that caused all the buildings around me to fall. And when everything started to fall and, like, the ground started to shake, the ground split open and there was this great crack in the ground, and I fell right through this crack and ended up being in what we would call today an underground bunker. But back then, like, people weren't talking about governments building underground bunkers or anything like that. And the thing was, there was this man down in this underground bunker, and he was telling people, like, I guess, riddles, maybe you could say. It was really like a Saw type of scenario. You had to move as fast as you possibly could. He would give you some kind of question or riddle, and you'd have to answer it in your mind and move, because the room and the floor would shift, and it would shift in ways that would kill people. It was like survival of the smartest type of situation, right? So he asked this question, and I had to jump like 2 feet in front of me onto this metal bar type of thing, and there was like a bunch of these metal bars, right? And the person next to me, jumped as well, but they jumped like maybe a second or two too late, and the room was shifting as they jumped, and I tried to grab their hand, and they were just so heavy on my arm, and they weren't fat or heavy or anything like that. They were probably smaller than me, but hanging from my arm, they just seemed so heavy, and I was trying so hard to hold on to their arm as they were grabbing my arm, and they just slipped down my arm right to my fingertips and died right in front of me. I woke up at that point, like, boom, woke right up. Sorry, I snapped my fingers. And when I woke up, the smell of burnt hair was like burned into my nostrils. Like I could smell sulfur and burnt hair. I then ran upstairs, and I was so shaken from the dream I had. And my mom was sitting at the kitchen table, and she just got home from work. She used to be a nurse, and she worked third shift, so she'd be working while I was sleeping, and when I got up to go to work, she'd be just getting home or whatever. And she could see that I was visibly shaking. She was like, "What's the matter, baby? Are you okay?" And I was like, no. And I was like in tears, right? She's like, well, tell me what's the matter. Tell me what's wrong. So I sit down at the table, and I tell her my entire dream. Now, the really funny thing is, it took me longer to tell her about it than I had to sleep that morning. Like I said, I woke up and then went back to sleep. This wasn't like a full night's sleep worth of a dream. I woke up, looked at the clock, and was like, man, I can't believe I woke up, half hour before I was mad. Like, I wanted my sleep. I didn't want it to be interrupted. I was 16 at the time. So my mother started to become very shaken as I told her about the dream, and she knew that I hadn't read or studied the Bible myself at this point. Yes, I believed in God, and as a child we went to church, but we all know that churches don't, they don't preach the end times. They don't even talk about Revelation in churches. And I'm pretty sure when we were little, I went to Catholic churches with my mom. My mom used to be Catholic. She doesn't consider herself a Catholic anymore. She didn't like how the Catholic Church would collect money, and they used to do those telethons on TV and stuff. But she considers herself a Christian now. But I hadn't read Revelation or any of the books outside of Genesis by this time. For whatever reason, I used to try to read the Bible front to back, and I would always start right back at the beginning. I don't know why. So really, I know the first few pages of the Bible, like, almost by memory. Well, my mom broke out her Bible and started to read verses to me from Revelation that sounded exactly like my dream. Like, the stars falling from the sky, everything being burned up, the flesh melting off this guy's face, the government's hiding in the mountains, the great earthquake. There was just so many things that were in my dream specifically that were right in Revelation. My mother explained to me that God gave me a vision and that I should feel, special in a way, when really I was just completely shaken by all this. And I still, to this day, remember this dream very, very vividly. I just wanted to share that with you guys, and I hope you all enjoyed this video. I'm sorry that in my videos, sometimes I tend to be all over the place. It's just literally the way my brain operates. Believe it or not, I have bullet notes in front of me. Like, I write notes down to try to stay on track with you guys and to try to not go off on these sidetracked rambles, but I do, and I apologize. I hope you all have a wonderful day. May God bless each and every one of you. Subscribe to my backup if you haven't yet. I will have all my links in the description box. Kinninigan was recently completely demonetized, and I have a feeling that that's just their first step in taking truther channels down entirely. Kinninigan, if you're listening to this by any chance, I don't know if you saw a Calls video the other day, but the same thing happened to his channel. He emailed YouTube and he actually got his monetization back. Like, YouTube blamed it on some AI that did it, and I don't know, I'm just hoping maybe you can do the same thing. I'm on Reddit and Twitter as well, guys, and I've recently opened up an account. I don't know how to say this. I think it's Brighteon. Anyway, I hope you guys know what I'm talking about. I wish I could find the comment that suggested it. Somebody suggested that I open an account there. You actually have to, you can't even just open an account. Like, you gotta fill some paperwork out, and then they check you out, and then they tell you whether or not you can have, a channel or an account there or whatever. So, but I did actually, it's successful. I got my deleted video up there. So if this channel's ever attacked, you guys can always find me. And again, like I said, all the links will be down in the description box, and I hope you all join me in my next video. God bless each and every one of you. I love you guys.